Okay, so this way I want to talk about my speculation for the Etruscans origins, as a backstory, where they originally originate from, and all this kind of thing. Remember, this is just my speculation. I don't say that I know, and this kind of just speculation. Is okay. Obviously, I want to do this video much more simple than I do the other video before this. So explain much more simple to make it more easy. So the first thing is that I think the Etruscan are mixed between two different kinds of people. One of them is the Villanova culture, the original groups in Italy, or different groups, but the people, the local population, that is a better word, and mixed with one of the sea people, one of the group of the sea people, mixed together as a physical mixture, culture mixture. So, for example, when the sea people is of different sea people, so one of the sea people, after they have fights with the Trojan, they have fight with the Hittites, the Macedonians, all these kind of people. They say they come to Italy, for example, just an example. They settle down in Tuscany. They take with them the culture from the homeland, from Turkey or Crete. They learn because they have service under the Trojan, because we know in some sense that the Trojan, because obviously Trojan is the fantasy name, they obviously have another name, is Walisha. They work as a mercenary under the Hittites, as the tribute state of the Hittites. Later on, the people there rise up against the oppression. They start to fight with the Hittite, the Trojan, because the Hittites helped the Trojans against the Greeks, the Macedonians. Then later on was a collapse around 1200 BC because of the influx with bronze and so this kind of thing. So this is just my speculation here, is that one of the groups that live in Troy, I don't say that have to be the high ranking Trojan, like the kings and the queens and the prince and the governors. I think the local population in Troy and in the Hittite population, the people there, some from the both sides, they escape the problems there because of the war and all this kind of thing. They escape. It's similar today when migrants escape from war. They take with them their culture and they come to other places in the world, and they start to build new stores, new places where, you know what I mean. They take with them what they have learned. For example, if they are they take with them and they bring it to a new culture. And I think that is the similar thing with the local population from the Trojans and the Hittites. They escape the war. They migrate from Turkey to Italy, to Toscana in Italy. They meet the local population. Sometimes they fight with them. Sometimes they in marriage with each other, and they trade idea with each other. So that, I think, that this is the way Etruscan is born from mixture of the local population of the Hittites and the Trojans, and with the local population in Italy, local Villanova culture together. That is just my speculation on the whole thing. That is a mixture of different things. And obviously because of the sea people, because of one of the group of the sea people was very good in to use ships, and they obviously were very good in trading because they trade and so on, and with connection with the Phoenicians and all this kind of thing. with the different part of the different people. It is just the horrible thing here is that makes everything so complicated is that when we talk about the sea people, we talks about it from the Egyptian, because the Egyptian call them sea people. There is a reason why all the historian say sea people, but it's too, they make it, we simplify so much. We simplify it because they are different people. They come from different places in the Mediterranean Sea. They have different culture aspect, different art. They are, like example, the most popular one of the sea people is the Philistines. That is the most famous of them, because we know that is what people know the most of them, because they use similar with Greek Macedonian art and this kind of thing, and they are the most popular. But the other groups of the sea people, the other members of the have different background. That is the problem. When we call them example, that is the same picture of simplifying the thing. Example, like we talk about the Celts, we talk about the Germanic tribes, and obviously this is different from Celt that live in Britannia, from Celt that live in Spain, or Celt that live in Turkey, or and so on and so on. Extremely different from each other, because they will have like a different language. They speak in Spain. Obviously, somewhat similar here with, like in Galicia, have some similar culture aspects that they have in Ireland, with the music and so on, but is very, very simplifying. That is the problem, I think, because if we just talk about the name and then we name some art, and that makes this video. I want to make it easy because I want to make it. The problem here is that when I say the local population in Italy, what do I really mean? That is the problem, because what is local population? How old do the population have to be local? Do I have to go? Do I have all the way to go? Do I have to go to the Stone Age, or like all this way, and then come to the Bronze Age? Then I come to Iron Age, and so on and so on. Because who is really? For example, if you look at the Roman, like around the imperial time, they are mixed with different people from Asia, from Africa, from Britannia, from France, different places in Europe and different places in Asia, from North Asia. So they make it extremely complicated, and then they make it more complicated. We talk about, for example, the Etruscan, that is before all of this, before the Republic and all this kind of thing. And then we have to talk about the Villanova culture. That is a culture, it's not the people, because that is just a begrip how like early Bronze Age culture. And then we have to talk about the different sea people and mix them together. And okay, art do not identify a people, because if you are a trader, you can, if you have a good ship, you can go to a place, different place in the world, and buy something, and you can take it with you to your home, and you have it. That do not mean that is you. It's just a thing you bring with you. For example, if you bring back a clothing, a silk. Like for example, when the Marco Polo come to the Kublai Khan's court in China, he was from Italy, but Kublai Khan is from Mongolia. He's not from China. But his system is very Chinese. He's changed the whole system. The Kublai Khan knows to rule China without huge revolts is to be Chinese, to change your system to Chinese system, then try to act. Obviously, he placed the highest ranking officers in his court and all this kind of thing, that as Mongolians, but he still treat the farmers in China well, comparable to the other leader of the Mongolians, and this kind of thing. So back to Etruscan again, to back to these people, is that who are they? Because Etruscan are they my speculation, are they a mixture with the one of the sea people and one of the local population in Italy, with mixture. When I mean with mixture, I mean with marriages, cultural ideas, and all this kind of thing together. And that is just one speculation. That maybe means nothing what I say. I just give a speculation about the whole thing. But that is the problem with all of these kind of things. Obviously, is that if you only measure art, art can come from everywhere. For example, you can find like art that then we have just the only information we have that we can read about from the Etruscan that is ancient reading is from the Romans or the Greeks. And we know the Romans are not as the Romans. Okay. The Romans here, if they don't like somebody, not gonna tell the truth about them. The same they talk about the Celts, or the Greek talks about the Persians, and it's totally different. If you learn about the Persians, you learn that they are extremely advanced culture. They treat their almost all of the people well. So long, every empire have different suspicion and all this kind of thing, but they treat them much better than the ancient Assyrian did. If I allowed to say that. But the problem here, when we talk, for example, we look at the Roman, how they explain and talk about, for example, the Celts. They explain the Celts as horrible brutes, that they are evil people, like big, aggressive, evil people. But when you look at the Celts, for example, you go to Austria and you look at Celtic art, like in Hallstatt, you see a totally different picture of them. You don't see them like a big guy with big tattoos and big sword. Obviously, some of them have tattoos, but it's the warrior. It's not everybody. And when the Greeks explain the Etruscans, they explain them as very uncasual and very. They don't are loyal people. They explain them as they are not loyal to each other. They are eating lots of good food and have lots of money, and they are not like. They are different from the Romans. Like the Romans are very strict people. The Romans are. The women should stay at home. The women should do work. The women should be loyal. Everything and Etruscan totally different from some. They explain totally different from the Romans. The wives are free to do what they want, if they are high-ranking wives, not slaves. And that is why the Greek always wanted. Very angry at the Etruscan because they think they are doing the way differently from them, and so on and so on. Yeah, so we have that is just one thing, but the thing I think is interesting is, I think, to understand the Etruscans backstory, we have to understand who the Trojans are before we know who the Etruscans are. Before, I think that is the connection here, is that the local population that is referred to Troy are the people that later on will be the Etruscans. But after the Bronze Age collapse, before that we don't hear anything about the Etruscan before the Bronze Age collapse. Before the Sea people, we know nothing about the Etruscan. So if we find anything about the Etruscan before that, then means that they are a local population. But because of from 900 BC, then I think the first real events start from 800 BC. Then we really know more about the Etruscans. But before this, we hear nothing about them. So Are they one of the sea people, or are they the local population from example? So I think the both thing. Okay, what I want to say here is that after the war, after the whole with the bronze collapse and all this kind of thing, I think some of the people from Troy, I don't know who, but some of the people escaped Troy in Turkey. They maybe bring with them some Hittites, that also a local population of the Hittites, not the kings, the normal people, the local population. They flee from there. They they try to find a new place to live that as a safe haven, because there was too much problem with the different people, war with different people, oppression, all this kind of thing, famine, earthquake, everything. They come to Italy. They have learned maybe from the people that they have learned when they live in Troy. From the okay, when I say Troy, I don't want you to think that I want to mix this Trojan with the mythical story with Paris and Helen. I mean Troy. I mean the place that works under the Hittites. This is just what I think. They from there they come to Italy. They meet the local population there. Some of the local population. They mix with them, and some years later, the Etruscans start to appear in Italy, and this kind of thing. Maybe this sounds crazy, totally crazy, but that is just my speculation about the whole thing. That they are originally from somewhere in Turkey, today's Turkey. They come to Italy, and this kind of thing. So that can be that the sea people are just the local population, the normal people in a big city, like from the Hittites, but they rise up against the kings because the kings were horrible people. The kings, they do revolt, they smash the temple and all this kind of thing. They burn the house, they burn everything that is from symbolize authority. They try to find new homes. Some of the local population that do not want to fight, they want to escape everything. They flee. They come to new places in the world. They build up themselves again as the new homeland. That can be the same for these people. They escape Turkey, come to Italy, and because they have learned from the thing. But the problem here is that I don't know if maybe I can be totally wrong here, but I don't think we have extreme. If you look at for example the Macedonians that we say is like the Bronze Age Greeks, that people that Homer, that Achilles, and all this kind of thing come from. Helen, like the ancient Trojan, ancient Spartans, sorry. This kind of thing. So I'm wondering if that when we talk about the Trojan, is much harder. Is less few evidence of the Trojan, the same time period, like from 1400 BC all the way to 1200 BC. We have much more information from the Macedonians than we have from the Volusians, from the Trojan. And I think if you can find art from Troy and some other similarities, like 1300 BC all the way to before the Bronze Age collapse, all the way to the Bronze Age collapse, and to see that Dark Age art from the Dark Ages, Bronze Age collapse. If we can see if we can find any similarities with the Etruscan art, obviously that is also making it very difficult because the Etruscan was traders. But if you can find something, in some ways, that connect them in some ways, like obviously it's extremely hard, because of genetics. We cannot use genetics because of the lot of the mixture of people today. But if you can find something else that in some ways, some script text in some ways can identify them with the Trojans, that will maybe solve a huge bit of the problems. Not every detail, but some of the things. But the only thing here is that a lot of the scriptures from the Etruscans are lost for different reasons. One is from the Romans, the reason from the Romans, because some of them was destroyed. Some of them were lost because of maybe from the Celtic raiders. From different reasons, many different reasons why some of the texture is destroyed. Um, and the only thing we know from the Etruscans is because of their art and the tomb, their big tombs, and lots of the painting we see on the tombs are from the Trojan War, from the mythical story. And we see feasting, eating, drinking, everything. That they and that is very similar in some sense to when we look at Egyptian tombs, like the pyramids. So I'm wondering if they hired Egyptian artists, like the rich Etruscan, hired Egyptian artists to come to Italy to do it, but they tell the Egyptian, we are inspired of your art, but can you do it in our style? But we want you to paint our tomb and this kind of thing. And the same with the Greek is in Italy was also inspired. So I wonder that is the problem. We don't have any paintings from the Etruscans that show normal Etruscan life. We only see drinking, mythical stories. We don't see normal people life in the painting. Okay, we see slavery, we see Olympic games, we see fighting with dogs and human against human. We see a bird man. We see people talking with the birds and ogres and all this kind of thing. But we don't have any information beside of the picture. We only see the story from how Achilles execute prisoners with Ajax. We don't, and we see we always see the if we look like this, we only see how the Greeks. They only show the Greek version of the story. They don't show the Trojan side of the story. How the normal Trojan people would tell their mythical story. And there is also makes it so interesting here is that do Etruscan have their own background mythical story? Only the thing is also that the boy that come from the earth and talk like an old man but is a young boy. But the other thing sounds that it's almost like the Etruscans, because of popularity, they want to be like the Greeks. So they changed their backstory to be more like Greeks. And that's I'm wondering here is that where is the Etruscan local guards and their own history and this kind of thing. Yeah, and that makes it so interesting. I'm wondering if the Etruscans, if they because they fight against the Greeks, but lots of the information is like the Greek mythology. Like the Greek also talk about the Trojan War, and how the Macedonians or the Bronze Age Greek defeat the Bronze Age Trojan. They bring back Helen or ex Helen of Troy, ex Helen of Sparta. They punish the Trojan for the thing they have done, all this kind of thing. But that is just a mythical story, because nobody gonna go to war for one. It sounds stupid here. To go to war for one woman, because you don't gonna sacrifice your man because for some this kind of thing. But that is so I think the sea people are more the likelier story here, the more realistic story, like the famine, the sea people. Obviously, this different kind of the federation of the sea people. One of them is probably from the local population from Troy, and then, as I said before, they come to Italy because they want to find a new homeland, because their original homeland is in ruins with all the chaos. They meet the local population, they mix with them, and then the Trojans, the Etruscans, is born. Their culture is born, but I think the Etruscans have always existed, but they have never not always exist in Italy. Their art, their way of the life, is from somewhere from Troy, and from sea. From, I think from mixture of Troy, mixture of sea people, these two together, and local population in Italy, and then the Etruscan art, sorry, it start to bloom in Italy. But they are always exist, that style of art have long time existed in other places in the world, but they come later on. They come to Italy after, like 300 years later, after the collapse of the Bronze Age. They come to Italy, and then they bring with them what they have done for millennium, many years in Turkey, in Troy, in Hittite society. But then they come to the new place, and they have to adapt their art to change it a bit, because they don't have the same system in they have from the homeland. They have to make the best of the situation, this kind of thing. Yeah, so that is just my theory of everything, and we just simple thing we have to say. We just have to wait and see for the future if the archaeology will find some more evidence and more details what really happened, because art can come from everywhere. Because they are traders, but if you can find something that connect the ancient Bronze Age people that live in Troy, in Turkey, with the connection from the early Etruscans all the way, like to Etruscans settled there in Italy. And then if you can, so that I just think that they are the same people. A local population in Troy are the same people as today's Trojan, and there is, because I think that is the, and but they have to change a bit of their culture, because they come to a new land. They don't have their temples anymore. They have they have to find new things, and that is just my speaking. That they are the Trojan, but they find a new homeland. This kind of things. So yeah, that is everything I really want to say. Okay.